With Bill Pelke in front of the United States Supreme Court. It's Monday night, which is Tuesday morning. We just finished 4 days of fasting and vigilant in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. Bill, what brought you out here today?
Well, this is my 14th fast and vigil. I've been here every year since the first day back in 1994. And America's people are working against the death penalty, and that's my family.
And tell me about some of your personal reasons for being against the death penalty.
Well, in 1985, there were 4 girls brutally murdered my grandmother, and one of those girls was sentenced to die in the electric chair by the state of Indiana. Her name was Paula Cooper, and she was 15 years old at the time of the murder. And even though I originally supported the judge's decision of putting her to death, I became convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that that was not the proper solution. Through my grandmother's life, I was convinced that my grandmother would have wanted me to have love and compassion for this girl's family. I didn't have any love and compassion because my grandmother had been very brutally murdered. I was so convinced that's what my grandmother would have wanted. I begged God to give me love and compassion for Paula Cooper and her family, and to do that on behalf of my grandmother. And that prayer was answered. And when my heart was touched with compassion, it brought forgiveness. And that forgiveness brought healing. And that's really what murder victim family members need when loved one has been killed, is healing. You don't need to see somebody else die. And so I dedicated my life to not only helping her get off of death row, which she did in 1989. She's still in prison, but she's no longer under a sentence of death. But I've continued to work with other organizations that are opposed to the death penalty.
And would you have any pearls of wisdom for folks watching this?
Well, most people want the death penalty. It's purely a matter of revenge. And revenge is never, ever the answer, not ever once. The answer is love and compassion for all humanity. We're supposed to hate the sin, but love the sinner. Hate the sin of a Paula Cooper, that sin of murder, but we're not supposed to hate her. We're supposed to have love and compassion. And you cannot have love and compassion for all of humanity and want to see anybody put into the death chamber in their life taken from them.
Great, thanks, Bill. Here we are with Joe.
That's right.
Joe, where are you from?
I'm from London in England.
Okay, and what are you doing in front of the U.S. Supreme Court?
Well, I came out here to support the fast and vigil against the death penalty because I do a lot of anti-death penalty campaigning in England, and there isn't a lot going on there that you can do physically out on the street. So I wanted to come out and have a physical presence and get more involved and get some inspiration.
And you came out here on your holiday?
So-called holiday, yeah. So yeah, and I also have a pen friend on death row in Pennsylvania, so I'm going to visit her in the next few days. So
yeah. And did you learn anything while you're out here?
I did. Before I came out, I thought it would be, something really useful to do, giving out leaflets, helping with on the stalls and with the demonstration. And I didn't know, it would be such a moving and inspiring experience. I'm going to take back so much from people's stories that I've heard. It was really interesting and moving hearing them speak, and it's been such a worthwhile experience.
Yeah. And what do you have to say to the Americans who are watching this?
End the death penalty. Everybody stand up, do your bit, and end the death penalty.
Great. Thanks, Joe. It's Gail, and we just finished up 4 days of fasting and vigilant in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. Gail, what brought you out here tonight?
I came out here for 4 days because I am opposed to the death penalty, and I will do whatever I can politically to end it. It must be ended.
And have you always been against the death penalty?
I wasn't for or against the death penalty. I didn't know about the death penalty or think about it. My youngest child, my daughter Catherine, was murdered when she was 19. And I lived in anger and rage for many, many, many years because I was told that that was the appropriate way to be and to act. And the district attorney lied to me and told me that an execution was what I needed to be healed. And I believed him at the time.
And then something changed your mind.
What happened is I went on a 4-year, I call it my journey of light. I went on a 4-year reading spree, working my way through a metaphysical bookstore. And what I found was that we are all one, and that we're we all have the God Spirit within us, and it's that connects one to the other. And also, when I read what Jesus came to teach, I believe his main message was that we're here for one purpose, and that purpose is to love one another. And one thing led to another, and I became a student of A Course in Miracles. And A Course in Miracles teaches forgiveness. And I came to be able to forgive the man who murdered my daughter. And I wrote to him and told him that, told him not to look to me to be a political or social advocate on his behalf. And I mailed the letter, and the act of mailing the letter was an absolute instant healing for me. Because all that anger and rage and ugliness I'd carried around for 12 long years was instantly gone. And in its place, I was replaced with I was just filled with feelings of love and joy and inner peace. So I was invited to visit, and I did go to visit. And the very first visit I made into San Quentin completely changed my life, because I walked out of there knowing that I would be a political and social advocate, not just for the man who murdered my daughter, but for all the men and women on death row all over the world. And I also realized I didn't need to have another human being murdered by the state of California so that I could be healed, because I was healed.
And do you have any advice for people who are watching this? Anything you'd like them to think about differently? Or
I would like to let them know that on the subject of forgiveness, forgiveness is not something that you give away. It's not something you give to someone else. It's something you give yourself. It's a gift you give yourself. And everything we do in this world is based either on fear or love. And so ask yourself this question whenever you make a decision. Am I basing this on fear, or am I basing it on love? And if you make the choice on the side of love, I think you're making the right choice.
all right, well, thank you for talking.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being out here. Bye-bye.